powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, and it is brought to you by the Gallery Bar, Book, and Games at Ocean Casino Resort. All football season, get your game on. Get your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Go to the Gallery at Ocean and go for the win. For more info, visit theoceanac.com. You must be 21 or older to play. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And, of course, we were there on Wednesday last week. I guess Ryan was filling in for me. He was there on Wednesday. We were not there yesterday, so we will have to make up that day. We'll be there on Monday. Maybe we'll be there later on this week or something. We'll get you details on that. If you haven't been up to the Gallery, stop out and see us one of these Mondays between now and the end of the football season, or even after the football season ends, if we're still hanging out up there. I hope we are. We always have a great time. It's a fantastic place. I love the people at Ocean, and obviously it, to me, is one of the premier properties in Atlantic City. If you are looking for something to do outside of, the Gallery's fantastic, but they've got unbelievable restaurants and nightlife and other things going on at the Ocean. So make an appointment to stop up there in 2023. A lot of the show today has kind of been focusing on what I think is extremely important, and that is this young man who, as I opened up in the first hour, we took a look at a guy that here's somebody that none of us probably had any idea who this young man was, and we're getting all the information now and all that stuff. So we'll continue to keep our eye on what is happening next with the Bills, and of course, I said I just don't know how the Bills, until they get some sort of resolve. And I say resolve, just something. This is what's going on with this young man. This is where he is right now. This is what's next for him. I think it's going to be tough for that team to move on at this stage of the season. But we'll bring Adam Caplan in, Football at 4. We'll take a look at the Eagles and obviously everything that's happening with them. They're in a situation too, Adam, and they canceled their media availability today, obviously with what's going on here. So this is not only this is kind of affected the entire league.
Oh, no doubt about it. Coaches I've talked to, actually I texted with a couple coaches during the game. Yeah, it's troubling, Mike. I've seen some stuff in my career just being in person. We're on tomorrow's Inside the Bird show at 6 a.m. Eastern, which drops on every platform imaginable, YouTube and everything else. We actually talk about, Jeff Mosher and I, our experiences covering injuries in serious situations. And there's being at home. I was watching the Sixers game, I typically have the sound down, Mike, when I watch games. But because I went back to the Bills-Bengals game at a break, and I go back to it, and I see that there's a lot of standing around. I'm like, oh, okay, someone got hurt. Let's see what's going on. And I'm like, I might as well put the sound up. And to hear Joe Buck and Troy Aikman's voices, I'm like, okay, this could be serious. So let's see what happens, see what's going on. And the longer it went on, and then they didn't show the replay, which I'm glad they didn't, but seeing what people were describing on social media, I was like, oh no, please don't be the heart. Please don't be the heart. And I've seen some things, Mike, in my 20 some odd years have troubled me, but this was obviously the worst. And for him to have his heart stop and then be revived is something that it's crazy. It's just thank God.
And Adam,
acted like they did.
You mentioned the way that you watch the game sometimes with the sound. I said, in the way that we watch the game a lot in today's world is you're watching the game, your head goes down to social media, you look back up.
Yeah,
if your head went down, you would have thought this was a play that you see every single play, every single week where he made a tackle. It wasn't a violent tackle. He just made a tackle. If you would have watched the play and then looked down, you would have missed what had happened, and then would have been like, I had so many people texting me like, what I missed, what happened? Exactly. And to hear Joe Buck say that they were administering CPR was something I'd never heard for a sport.
Oh, event. I know. It's one thing sometimes when players get knocked out, you you just wait till they come back, till they wake up. Obviously you have to take them off the field, stretch it off and all that. And there's certain protocols. You saw the protocols with Josh Sweat. The Eagles followed the protocols which you're supposed to with the neck injury. But this one was so unique. When CPR was mentioned, I'm like, what is this? Like, you're trying to process it all. And, I hate sometimes when I find out what's going on social media. It's just shocking when you see it's speculated and so forth. You just never know if they're right or not, but they were right on this one. And it was very scary. Yeah, I had trouble sleeping. I'll be honest with you, Mike. I had trouble sleeping last night. It was so troubling, and we're all in shock over it. Obviously,
absolutely. And you, as I mentioned before you came on here, Adam. I mean, here's a player that many of us probably had never even heard of before. I mean, he's a 6th-round pick. He's a safety for the Bills, and he makes a routine play, and now his life is potentially changed. Hopefully, that's the thing is that hopefully his life has changed, and that we look back at this and say, man, that was a scary situation. But because of the way it was handled on site, that should be given credit too.
Oh yeah, the emergency response. By the way, the guy that he replaced, Micah Hyde, had a season-ending neck injury earlier this season, and Hyde, I remember reading the quotes. Because he was taken, he was carted off, I think, in an ambulance as well. It's just crazy that this happened. That the player replaced him out of Pitt. I'm familiar with him because I cover all 32 teams, so I knew exactly who he was. But I didn't quite put everything together as it was happening. It was just shocking as a you never know, because it's not like we could prepare as human beings to go through the emotions of what we're going to find out. And then I'm scared, is he going to make it or not? I mean, that's, I just remember the Corey Stringer situation very early in my career of covering the NFL when he passed away at a training camp practice of overheating. And the Lions player, Reggie Brown, who had his career ended with a neck injury, he was out and they had to revive him. It's terrible, Mike. Obviously we're pulling for Hamlin to make it, man.
Yeah, Adam Caplan's with us, Football at 4, and obviously we'll kind of transition over to the Eagles and what happened in their game on Sunday. And obviously it feels a little trivial after what we saw last night, but they lost and obviously did not look good in doing so. And now the panic button is starting to be pushed a little bit by fans. What happened on Sunday? Why did they lose that game in the manner that they did?
Everyone wants to blame Minshew, and I get it. He didn't play well. I gave him on my grading system. I gave him a 3.5 out of 10. The game against Dallas, like 7.5. We played really well. I mean, he did. There's no way you could say he didn't. He played well. But he just was not comfortable, Mike. For whatever reason, I don't know if Lane Johnson not being in there got to him. I don't know what it was. He just didn't play well. He moved for no reason sometimes. It was bad. When they tried to run it, I didn't think it just didn't have any rhythm to the running game, and everything did not work right for Minshew. And the one thing I would have liked is not to run the ball more. That's not the answer to help a quarterback. Then I know some fans believe it. That's not really the way you do it. I remember talking to the Eagles when Donovan McNabb would struggle, and it would drive me up a wall. Why would you keep throwing? And then I would learn just talking to coaches, no, it's not about throwing less. It's how you do it. Give him easier throws. They didn't give him what we call layup throws, Mike. They should have done that. The best way to get a quarterback comfortable is give him quick rhythm, out of your hand throws. It's not about throwing the ball downfield, which we talked about on the Inside the Birds pregame show with Moshe and I and Greg Cosell. I thought Greg loved the question. He actually wasn't sure where he'd go with it. He admitted, look, they're very shot play oriented. The staff wants to throw the football, and by the way, that's why they're so good. But there's a way you help your quarterback get the ball out of his hands quickly, the way that Marty Morningweg and Andy Reid did with McNabb. Help him get it out of his hands quickly, get him comfortable, get him accurate. That's the way you do it, and they did not do a good job, these coaches, of doing it in this game.
Yeah, so Minshew obviously had the struggles, did not play well. You hinted at the issues at right tackle. Do you think there's going to be possible change there this week?
We noted on our pregame show we were hearing it's probably going to be Driscoll, and that's what happened. You can't keep moving these guys around because I look at it a little differently. I just, based on what we know about the Lane Johnson injury, it's going to be hard for him to fit. If he does play let's assume they're going to win on Sunday and they'll have the first round bye. There's no lock he'll play in a divisional game. Nobody has any idea if he'll play or not. Lane wants to play badly. They don't. Nobody knows. So, and then the other thing is, if he plays, will he last? I'm taking the latter. No one could guarantee he would last. So theoretically, the lineup that you used in this game and on Sunday against the Giants is the one you're going to use. And they just tried Jack Driscoll, and he was overmatched. It's called like it is. He just didn't play well. And Cam Jordan, with 3 sacks, Cam Jordan dominated. You might remember his dad, Steve, played for the tight end for the Vikings, so I remember very well in the 80s, early 90s. So it was bad. And that now, to answer your question, just knowing Jeff Stoutland, the way he coaches and talking to guys who coach with him, he probably won't change.
Yeah.
We don't know yet. We'll look into it. We're certainly thinking about it. Like, that's on my mind of all the questions I have left. We feel pretty good that we've got a hold on the injury situation, but in terms of where everybody's at. But that's the one, man, at right tackle. I would have gone with my lineup. People don't agree with me that Stoutland likes to leave everything the same. That's fine, but it didn't work in this game. But yet the game was close enough they could have won it.
And then the running game was lacking a little bit. 12 carries for 60 yards. Miles, some would say, wasn't lacking so much as they didn't use it at all.
Yeah, look, they got ball controlled. Sanders looked fine. He had the long of 14. He had we mentioned this on our pregame show that he was wearing a brace. In fact, it was his left knee that he hurt in the previous game. We don't know what it is. It's not a serious issue. It's just that it might be a light sprain. Typically, you don't wear you wear a brace when you sprain your knee. That's what I've been told for many years. Don't know that to be the fact that he sprained it, but it's kind of odd for him he wore it in practice. He also wore it on the game in his left knee, and he looked fine, but they got ball controlled to death by the Saints. This never happens with this team this season, Mike, as you know. It was kind of surprising, but it was good when it was good at least that Minshew and Devontae Smith certainly had great chemistry. Brown on the shot play where he leveraged the defender. I think it was Adebo, was it? Paulson Adebo. And Goddard was asked to block a little bit. You kind of knew that was coming with the Saints D line. And by the way, they played a lot of 3 receiver sets in this game, Mike, same as Dallas.
Talking with Adam Caplan, football at 4, and then let's flip over to the defense. Obviously, much better in the second half, but the bad start for the defense, I guess you could ask, hey, could they have made quicker adjustments? And, hey, I can't ask you to win the game 10-3, but this felt like a kind of game they possibly could have.
Yeah, after the first series, it was better in the second series, not perfect. Then they dominated. Really, the second quarter on, it was like Andy Dalton helped them, but their D-line dominated a pretty good Saints offensive line. And by the way, the Saints, we outlined this on our pregame show. Of all people, Josh Andrews now starts. They go with a lot of 6 offensive linemen, and they did it a little bit in this game, not as much as they had in previous games. Although Ryan Ramczyk, I think, I know he had an illness coming into the game. He didn't play very much. This kid Young filled in for him. But overall, Mike, I thought the defense really handled themselves. On your point, you're right about that. The defense coordinator needs to do a better job of when it's not working, change it up a little bit. Just change up what you're doing. We talk more about this on a show tomorrow morning. I could just tell you that they just had a bad first series. The good thing is, you said, look, they only gave up 10 points of offense, and I mean that, or whatever was it, 13.
Yeah.
Overall, you're going to win like that. When your defense plays as well as it did, yeah, they only gave up 13. They get 7 points was they picked 6. You're going to win most of those games.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's crazy because I read my timeline on a Sunday, and you would think that John Gannon is the Antichrist. But I said, the defense played relatively well. Now, why did they not make that adjustment earlier on in that game? Oh, I mean, that's something that they should.
Him.
Yeah,
only he knows. Yeah. But he changed. I mean, he changed up. But what I'll tell you, though, you got to be careful once you get to the playoffs. The talent level that you're going to face is going to be way better than this Saints team. That's
no doubt.
Bottom line.
Let's go over some of the injury situations because there's a lot of them at this stage of the season. We know now Josh Sweat, I would imagine he is not going to be available.
Well, we don't know it for a fact. Yeah, I would agree that I find it hard to believe, but I just tell you, he's doing pretty well. We'll give you some good information tomorrow morning, but yeah, he's doing fine. Let's hope there's no residual effect, though, as we go forward of that neck issue, because he got flattened a little bit. So let's hope he's going to be. Look, he's good. I mean, based on what I was told on Monday, felt pretty good. So
Okay.
we'll see when exactly. We don't know the timeline on it. Whether there's going to be 1 or 2 games, we'll have to see. Again, it would really help them if they get the bye, which they should do. Hurts, look, it's real simple with Hurts. We were told to start last week. We said this on our Wednesday show. Didn't look good for him to play. But let's see what happens in Thursday's practice. They made a decision he was never going to play anyway. My timeline was first week, get him throwing. Second week, let him take a majority of the reps. That way he'll start. Let me just tell you something, though, Mike. If he's not getting a full practice in for Thursday, that's not good.
Yeah.
That would tell you he's probably not going to play.
So,
They only practice 2 days now. They have a Wednesday walkthrough. By the way, he didn't even participate in the Wednesday walkthrough last week, which was kind of interesting. So let's see what happens on Thursday. As long as he takes a full practice Thursday, barring a setback, I would expect him in the lineup.
all right, so we got Hurts, we got Lane Johnson. We know they're both. Well, Johnson is out this week. We know that. Avante Maddox and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, where are they?
Avante is just they didn't put him on IR. They clearly believe he'll be back at some point during the playoffs if they go far enough. That's good news. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, we had noted on our pregame show that we're hearing he's close, and it would either be this week or the following week that he starts practicing. On designation for return, still would be on the roster with that. They decide when they think he's ready. But the hope is here if they could get the bye for sure that he's ready for that first playoff game. And then, other than that, the only other question for this game is, and it's just funny, Brian Daboll goes back and forth. The head coach of the Giants. I know I know that I could tell you from talking to Giants source that everybody was celebrating. The front office and coaches were celebrating after the game. If you had any idea how surprised they're not, I should say surprised, how elated. Let's put it this way: how elated they are made the playoffs. Mike, their expectations, if they're being honest with people, were probably not to be a playoff team. They weren't really sure. They had a lot of change on this team, Mike, this Giants team, and they had to see how the season went. It went way better than anyone close to the situation thought. With 9 wins, could be 10 if they beat the Eagles surprisingly on Sunday. And I think they're just they're feeling great about themselves because they overachieved. They know it. It's a great story and a great coaching job by Brian Daboll and his assistants.
No doubt. So do we think that they will play their full brigade of guys on Sunday?
No. I'd be shocked. Again, I'm going to check back with my sources with the Giants later this week. It's too early in the week. They don't practice till Wednesday, and they're still banged up at certain positions. You're going to see Landon Collins in that game. He's actually playing a lot right now, of all people. He's playing more of an inside jack linebacker position. But when you look at their situation with the Giants, they have nothing to play for. They're the 6th seed. I know coaches hate when you say that. I've had coaches yell at me when I've said that. But they don't have it. For playoff position, they're locked into the 6th seed. That's the point. Why would you risk anything in this game? They're just saying in the NFL, Mike, before we get out of here, you can't rest everyone because you can only dress 47 players on game day. So some starters might have to play, but man, why would you play more than a series or two? So if the Eagles lose this game, they deserve not to have a number 1 seed. What else can I tell you?
Adam Caplan, Football at 4. Of course, don't forget Inside the Birds podcast tomorrow morning. Check out the latest edition. And, of course, right here on Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Happy New Year, Adam.
Same to you, my friend. Thank you.